Somewhere in America right now, a government executive is sitting in a conference room listening to a vendor presentation that will shape the next decade of their organization. The slides are polished, the demos are seamless, and the structural conditions that will determine whether this project succeeds or fails have already been set, invisibly, irreversibly, and none of them addressed in that presentation. Now, I've been in that room hundreds of times. I've been the advisor who arrived after the contracts were signed and the damage was baked in. I've told leadership what they didn't want to hear and that the deal they had celebrated was structured to serve the vendor, not them. And I've realized that I can't be in every conference room where these decisions get made, but the principles that protect organizations can be. So I wrote this book because too many government leaders are making the most consequential technology decisions of their careers without the information they need to make them well. There's three converging forces that make this book timely and urgent. SAP's end-of-life support, Oracle pushing cloud migrations, Workday and Infor courting government aggressively, and thousands of government entities entering the market simultaneously. It's been wild. Many for the first time in 15 or 20 years. With teams that have never navigated a procurement of this complex. Second is AI. Both the promise and the weapon that it is. AI is transforming what's possible, but it's also being weaponized by vendors and their marketing engines as justifying premium pricing for capabilities that buyers don't understand they're not ready for. So the gap between what AI can deliver and what vendors claim has never been wider. The third is the weight of decades of failure. Government technology projects fail at rates that would be scandalous in any other sector. And the structures that produce those failures, vendor-led processes, conflicted advisors, inadequate preparation, these remain unchanged. And these three forces create a moment of extraordinary risk and opportunity. So why me? Why did I write this book? I founded Avero Advisors on a principle that sounds simple, but it's remarkably rare. The people advising you on technology decisions should have no financial relationship with the vendors competing for your business. They should succeed only when you succeed. And over the years, I've watched this principle proven right in ways that are sometimes gratifying and often heartbreaking. Gratifying when organizations invest in phase zero and enter procurement with clarity and leverage. Heartbreaking when talented, dedicated public servants are overwhelmed by vendor sales operations that are refined across thousands of engagements. And these aren't abstract numbers. A failed implementation could mean 600 employees laid off, libraries closed, services slashed, public trust destroyed, teachers not getting paid. Real consequences for real communities. When implementations fail, the consequences extend far beyond IT departments. They consume resources that could have funded schools, infrastructure, public safety. They destroy careers of public servants who were set up to fail by structural conditions they didn't create. There are stories that haunt me and stories that are encouraging. For example, Europe's largest local authority, Birmingham, they had a system that worked beautifully for 20 years, on time, on budget, saved £100 million. And then they decide to modernize. But they skipped preparation. They handed everything to the vendors. A £19 million project becomes a £216 failure. The city went effectively bankrupt. 600 people lost their jobs. Libraries closed to fund a technology project that still couldn't do basic reporting. On the other side, facing the exact same challenge, an aging SAP system, same deadlines, same vendor landscape, they did it effectively and differently. Monroe County, New York invested 18 months in phase zero. They brought in independent oversight, and they're delivering on schedule and on budget. The difference wasn't the software. It wasn't the vendors. It was whether someone in the room had both the authority, the experience, and the incentive to protect the client's interests when the vendor interests diverged. Now, you don't have to be the leader who presides over the next Birmingham. You can be the leader who builds the next Monroe County. But that choice is made in the structural decisions before implementation begins, not in the heroic efforts after things go wrong. So, who is this book for? If you're a city manager, county administrator, CIO, CFO, or department head facing an ERP modernization, a cloud migration, or a major technology procurement. This was written for you, elected officials and oversight bodies who approve budgets and bear political consequences when implementations go wrong. If you're a government technology professional who has watched implementations unfold with a growing sense that something was structurally wrong, but couldn't articulate what, this book gives you the language, the evidence, and the frameworks to make that case. And keep in mind, this is not anti-software vendor, it's anti-capture. The best vendors thrive in environments with independent oversights. It's only the ones whose business models depend on information asymmetry who have reason to resist what this book advocates. Every chapter in this book is built from direct experience, guiding government organizations through real decisions that produce real consequences for real communities. It names the conflicts of interest. It explains the structural incentives that drive vendor behavior. It shows how organizations get captured by the very firms they hire to help them. It also includes AI, practical, not buzzy. Not AI as a buzzword, but AI as a practical tool that's already reshaping how requirements are gathered, vendors evaluated, and governance maintained. Frameworks, templates, checklists you can use immediately. Every chapter ends with actions you can take within 48 hours. The decisions you make in the next 12 to 24 months about your organization's technology infrastructure, they'll determine how your government operates for the next decade. These aren't decisions you get to revisit. An ERP implementation is not a pilot program you can quietly sunset if it doesn't work out. It touches every department, every process, every employee, every citizen who depends on your services. And you have time to get this right. But that window is measured in months, not years. The best time to start was a year ago. The second best time is now. Get the book, turn the page, and let's start at zero.